So there was a lot going on today, and it looks like markets sold off a little bit based off of the results. So what's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBut Solutions here with a super quick market update. I want you to have a full understanding of what everyone is talking about, but not enough people understand. So first off, NASDAQ market, yes, just like we talked about in today's earlier video, NASDAQ market was selling off. It sold off a little bit further. It's a great day for the bears, but remember, it's just a day. One pullback today does not define a market reversal. There is no significant trigger. Remember, every single time that the markets have pulled back, the trade war, a trigger, the pandemic, a trigger, there's always been a significant trigger that has led to a significant sell-off. 2008, the dot-com bubble. We don't have that, at least not yet. We have some uncertainty, and that's why markets pull back. So please, you guys know that I want markets to pull back, but don't get it twisted. This is why when we short, we're so eager to take profits because we know how quickly markets are bound to recover. So for all the bulls out there that like to go long at these overbought levels, the territory and the grounds are still yours. The entire environment of this market is still irrational and it's still bullish. So let's make sure that, again, we don't celebrate too hard today thinking that it can't just recover tomorrow. Not saying that it's going to recover. I hope that the markets sell off more because then that really would allow me to pick up some really good deals on companies I actually want to invest in long term. But realistically, I just don't have high hopes, and this is why. So NASDAQ market, again, nice little pullback. Nothing more to that, right? Based off of yesterday's lows, the lows that we saw the day before. Nothing new here. It's just a nice little retracement intraday. What I want to talk about is this news that was shared about Trump's conversation with Putin. So he had a 2-hour long conversation. Feel free to pause this and read this yourself. I'm sure you can find it online. This was shared directly from Trump. The first part of it is really just him saying that Vladimir Putin is congratulating him in the United States, really just boosting Trump's ego, which often is done by Putin. I don't know if this is just to buy himself more time with the Ukraine and Russian war, but to my understanding, this is what this entire conversation was about. So he thanked him, he thanked like the first lady, and then they got to the actual gist of the call. We also spent a great deal of time talking about trade between Russia and the United States when the war with Ukraine is over. All at the conclusion of the call, we agreed that there will be a meeting of our high-level advisors next week. Remember that. Next week, a meeting with their high-level advisors. The United States' initial meetings will be led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, together with various other people to be designated. A meeting location is to be determined, which means that it hasn't been set yet. President Putin and I will meet in an agreed-upon location. It seems like the two options are either Budapest or Budapest, Hungary, to see if we can bring if we can bring this inglorious war between Russia and Ukraine to an end. President Zelensky and I will be meeting tomorrow. This is good, right? In the Oval Office, where we will discuss my conversation with President Putin and much more. I believe great progress was made with today's telephone conversation. So what is the biggest takeaway? Other than Putin supposedly congratulating Trump on all the great accomplishments of peace in the Middle East, and then that we have dreamt about this for centuries, that I actually believe that the success in the Middle East will help our negotiations in attaining the end of the Russian-Ukraine war in the future. This is just to really settle, why has this war not ended in Ukraine? When is this set to happen? Supposedly next week. And this is going to be led by Marco Rubio. Now, where is this going to take place? According to this, agreed upon location in Budapest, Hungary. And tomorrow is the most recent update that we are bound to receive, is that he's going to meet with Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, who Putin is in conflict with. So pretty much to kind of, I guess, keep Zelensky up to date with maybe some form of negotiation that can be done then to be able to bring to Putin next week. So next week is the big week for Russia as the U.S. meets with them. And tomorrow is the big day to meet with Zelensky, where he will keep him up to date. Just wanted you to understand, because there's a lot of people that are saying that something significant was supposed to be shared. Something significant is happening. This is great for the overall market. This has been an ongoing issue, and we all know this. I do believe that if something like this is settled, which I really don't see this happen, it really seems like Putin is just buying himself more time, then yeah, maybe markets can react in a positive way due to specific issues, obviously, that the US has had with other countries buying, products from Russia itself, right? That's been the ongoing issue where, no, do not support Russian oil, or do not buy this from Russia. Anyone that buys anything from Russia, we're no longer going to, we're going to implement all these tariffs. So hopefully this can really settle the issue that's going on with Russia. I personally don't have high hopes, just based off of how long this has been going on. And even with Trump, Putin does a really good job supposedly congratulating him just to buy himself more time, right? On top of that, wanted to keep you guys up to date. Over $450 million were liquidated in the crypto market in the past 30 minutes. That was after the initial retracement, when we saw BTC hit lows of 107, pretty much 108. Very happy to see it. But again, I expect this to be kind of short-lived unless another significant trigger presents itself, right? The stock market supposedly is now in extreme fear, which I think is laughable, because this pullback that we've recently experienced is just that. That's nothing. I think that once markets do begin to retrace, there's not even going to be a form of measure to be able to determine how much fear there's going to be injected into the market because of how things overbought are. We've talked about this with my LPP team. It's like a rubber band effect, right? The further you stretch it apart with irrational valuations and hyped up plays, the further you stretch it apart, the harder when it snaps that it begins to retrace. And that's exactly what I expect to happen with the stock market and all these overvalued stocks that have no revenue or barely in the green, that are trading at 500% to 1,000% of what they were trading last year. And again, that's just my opinion. If you're bullish on any of those stocks and you think that they're a good deal right now, I would encourage you to put your money where your mouth is and double down and buy more now. But I can reassure you that you probably won't, because you have common sense and you know that it's probably not worth the risk, right? So I remind you that if you don't think it's a good buy right now, please do not encourage beginners to also be buying at all-time highs when you know the inherent risk to reward is simply not favorable for them. The other thing that I thought was pretty snarky from the Trump administration was that Eric Trump has said that the Trump family has made more than $1 billion from crypto. I don't understand that. And I thought this post did a very good job kind of explaining it. I don't get it. Why are they confessing? They're not confessing, they're bragging. And it's so true. It's like no one asked. Everyone knows that there's a direct conflict of interest there, right? And this one I thought was so beautiful. Like, if my family controlled the charts, we would have made $10 billion. Those are rookie numbers, which is just, again, to shed some light of like, how are you even trying to compare from people, retail people like you and I, and then boasting about $1 billion that has been made because of your family? Like, this is the part that has been my biggest issue. Like, I voted for Trump because based off of his campaign of, yes, they were going to work on implementing tariffs to get rid of federal income tax, and then working on paying off and or reducing our national debt. Three things that has not even happened. Yeah, they implemented tariffs, but they're not even being used to pay off the debt. They're not being used to subsidize federal income tax, which is just a whole nother issue within itself. The part that I'm here to remind you is, remember the same tone that you had when we find out that Nancy Pelosi's husband is investing in companies that she regulates. You understand that conflict of interest? Why is it any different for our Eric Trump to be boasting, and this guy's boasting about it, about over $1 billion has been made by their family, when his dad is in the most powerful position in the world, completely influencing markets? If you think about 2025, the initial sell-off and the strong retracement, it's all been because of his tweets. I want to remind you that Your political preference should not be your entire personality. You can vote for someone and still disagree with them. Even the people that you love most in your life. You're not going to align with every idea or thing that they say. Why would you agree or back up someone you don't even know and that doesn't even know that you exist just because you voted for them? You're an individual for a reason. And that doesn't mean that you have to support conflict of interest, because that is exactly what this is. To be able to be in a position of power that enriches yourself when you were voted into that position. It's so infuriating that people will just overlook this because it's Trump, but they don't point the finger to him, but they'll point the finger to Nancy Pelosi, which again, I think both are absolutely insane issues. Both should not be allowed. I believe that if you are in a position of power, you and your family completely should not be allowed to partake in these money markets. It's that simple. Oh, well, Ricky, then we probably wouldn't get as many people that we have now in that position. Then great. Their sole role should be to lead and represent and do for the best interest of the people who voted them there. And that's all. And if that is not enough, then that role is not for you. How simple would that be? But again, it's the simple things in life that people tend to overcomplicate, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about this in tomorrow's live trading session with our LPP team. I was very happy to see the overall retracement that we saw in the markets this week. And we'll see if it continues tomorrow. And if so, I'll be actively shorting the markets. If markets begin to recover tomorrow, then I would be more than happy to go long if price action supports it. If you want to watch me trade live starting tomorrow, you can click that second link in the description down below to get access. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.